Welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Taya and this is Taya's Turning Pages. So by the title of today's video, you can tell that this is going to be a book haul, but it is going to be a historical romance book haul. So I mentioned in one of my older videos that I was going to film a historical romance book haul, and then it just never happened. There was a lot going on, but like we're here now, and I really wanted to share these books with you guys because the covers are stunning, and anytime I could talk about my queen, Beverly Jenkins, I'm gonna talk about her because she deserves all of the praise, all of the hype, and she is like one of the best authors when it just comes to romance, when it comes to storytelling, developing and fleshing out beautiful, amazing characters. I could go on and on and on.
That's my mama, and y'all can tweet, you can do whatever. That's my mama, and you can tweet till you get blue in the face. I don't care. She can have whatever she wants, because that's my mama.
But we do have quite a few books to get through, so let's get started. Please keep in mind that I do not know the synopses for all of these books, so I'm going to try my best to explain them to you or just read, you know, the back of them for some of them, but I try not to do that. If you guys have watched my hauls, I try not to read the synopses all of the time, so we'll see how this goes. The first book that I have here, I'm actually reading it right now, and it is Through the Storm by Beverly Jenkins. So all of these books are going to be by Beverly Jenkins, so I will not, you know, keep repeating that, but I just decided to say it for this book. But like I mentioned, I am reading this one right now, and I'm about 130 pages in, and I am loving it so far. I can already tell that this is going to be a 5-star book because this one I feel like is a lot different than the other Beverly Jenkins books that I've read. So I actually read her first book, Night Song, and I will get into that book in this category a little bit later. But I did read her first book, Night Song, and then I also read her other book, which came out years later, I think like the mid-2000s, so like 2005, and it's called Something Like Love, which is one of my favorites by her. Both of those got 5 out of 5 stars, and I just feel like this one is also on the path to 5 stars because wow. So this book actually follows a man named Raymond, and Raymond is actually a like major or lieutenant. I don't really know the terminology all that well, y'all. He has a high ranking in the military, essentially. And he ends up crossing paths with this woman named Sable. They instantly have an attraction and they're already smitten with each other, but unfortunately something happens where, I don't know if it's like miscommunication because I'm still pretty early in the book, but something happens where Raymond feels as though Sable betrayed him. And so because of that, he is sworn off of love. He's not really interested in marrying for love or anything along those lines. But Raymond's family is actually very wealthy, and in order to gain his inheritance, he has to marry someone. But because he is scorned, he decides to tell his mother that she can choose whatever wife she wants for him. And so his mother does end up choosing a woman, but unbeknownst to Raymond and Sable, his mother chooses Sable to be his wife. So you get to follow Sable and Raymond trying to figure out marriage, as well as really get to the core of what happened and why these two had the falling out that they had. And that's pretty much where the story goes from there. But like I mentioned, I am obsessed with it, and I did say that this does differ to me from Night Song and Something Like Love because all of Beverly Jenkins' books does have Black history woven throughout them because these books do take place during the 18 and 1900s. So of course there are storylines and topics that include, you know, slavery and post-slavery and what it meant to be Black in America during this time. And so there are a lot of just unknown and little known Black history that Beverly Jenkins really expands throughout her novels, and this book is no exception. This book actually differs from Night Song and Something Like Love in the sense that like this actually takes place during the Civil War. So there are still enslaved Black people, and there are also free Black people, and just getting to learn more about what life was like for them, or getting a glimpse into what life could have been like for them, it is so eye-opening, so humbling, but also just so heartbreaking. And every single time I learn something new, I choke up because it just really reiterates the fact that, you know, my ancestors just went through a lot. They went through a lot of traumatic and horrific things. And this book also reiterates how resilient and strong the Black spirit can be. So I just really love this book for that alone. I am a history nerd, so I'm eating all of the historical aspects up, but I'm also eating the romance up as well because Raymond is so sweet. God, he is so sweet. And Sable is like one of my favorite characters. Beverly Jenkins does a phenomenal job at fleshing out female characters and just making them so likable. Literally every single female character that I have read that was written by her, I love them. I fall in love with them because they're just so progressive, they're so strong, and they have their own mind, and they don't let these men tell them what to do, period. So I just love everything about her characters, especially her female characters. So yeah, I'm not finished this one yet, but I can already tell you guys that this is going to be a 5-star. And the next book that I have here is Night Song. Since I already talked about it, I decided to just show it, and this is actually one of my favorite covers when it comes to my like collection of Beverly Jenkins books. But this is Beverly Jenkins' first novel, and I think this one came out in like 1995, I'm pretty sure. And this one was actually out of print for a lot of years, and it not just recently, but it came into print not too long ago. So I'm really happy about that because I loved this one, and I could definitely see why and how this put her on the map. So this actually follows two people, one named Carolee and one named Chase. And Carolee is a school teacher in this town known as Henry Adams, Kansas. And Henry Adams is actually a town that Beverly Jenkins uses quite a bit in her historical romance books. But Carolee is a teacher in this town, and she's really well liked by the students as well as a lot of the parents in this town. But there are a few people that really don't care for Carolee for whatever reason, but she doesn't let it get to her. She really loves the children and she loves what she does and she loves her job, so she just ignores all of that and just focuses on, you know, her career. On the flip side of Carolee, you have Chase, and Chase is actually a Union soldier, and he has like a very high rank within his unit, or cavalry, right? Y'all know I don't know the terminology, but he has a high ranking in his unit or whatever. Him and Carolee actually met years before their like romance took place, and they didn't really get off on the best foot. They were already kind of like enemies in a sense, and then once Chase comes back to Henry Adams, he sees Carolee and realizes that he actually does like Carolee, and he wants to try to, like, you know, court her essentially. But Carolee isn't interested. She's not really trying to give him the time of the day because Chase is a soldier, so he is always traveling and he's never in one place at one time. So Carolee figures that he's going to probably leave her heartbroken at some point. But of course, as the story progresses, Chase and Carolee start to get to know each other a lot better. They become inseparable, and the story takes off from there. So like I said before, 5 out of 5 stars. I loved every single thing about this one. This is another book where I learned so much about Black soldiers and Buffalo soldiers and what it meant to be a Black soldier during this time period. But again, I just really love the historical aspects and factoids that are sprinkled throughout the story, and Beverly Jenkins always gives more context in the back of her books to learn more about like certain events and certain topics that she includes in the book. So yeah, I love this one. Romance was passionate, it was sexy, it was steamy, it was amazing, and I just love the whole cat and mouse game Chase and Carolee had. Really interesting because Chase and Carolee actually appear in another book that I have in this collection, and Chase's character is so much more calm and so much more tame compared to this book. So you can tell that Carolee really calmed him down and tamed him. I thought it was funny when I made those comparisons and those differences. But yeah, love this one. 5 out of 5 stars. Definitely recommend picking this one up. And if you are looking to get into Beverly Jenkins, then I definitely do recommend picking up Night Song since it is her first book. Even though this is her debut, it doesn't feel like that to me because, like I mentioned before, Carolee and Chase are both very compelling. The story itself is compelling. They both have phenomenal redemption arcs as well as just character arcs that you can tell that they really grow from the first page all the way into the end, especially Chase. And there's just so much depth and substance added to her stories, but this one in particular. And again, for this to be a debut and for her to come out the gate swinging with this one, amazing. So the next book that I have is Something Like Love, and this is actually my favorite Beverly Jenkins book at this point. Like, this is sitting at the #1 spot for me because this was the first one that I read and I became obsessed. But this one actually follows a woman named Olivia, and Olivia is very headstrong, very smart, well educated, and she's about her business. Okay, she is about her business and making money because she is a talented seamstress, and because she is so talented and good at what she does, she is sought after by so many people in her hometown. But Olivia's father is trying to marry her off so that way he can make some money, and Olivia, being the headstrong woman that she is, she does not want that. She wants to marry for love, not for a transactional purpose. So she decides to flee to the town of Henry Adams where Carolee and Chase live, and she decides to set up shop there and start a new life. So because she is a talented seamstress, she is able to start a business and make money pretty quickly. One day she decides to travel on this train to go to another town to take care of some business, I guess, and the train is actually stuck up by these two outlaws, one named Neil July and the other one is named Two Shafts, and they are brothers. And when Neil July steps onto the train, he of course looks around and tells people to empty their pockets, their belongings, etc., and his eyes land on Olivia, Olivia's eyes land on him, and the rest is history. So this book was another 5 out of 5 stars, of course, and this one fits into the category of forbidden romance, like true forbidden romance, because Neil is an outlaw and Olivia is a respectable lady, and she really does care about her reputation. She can't be seen fraternizing with an outlaw like Neil July. So you see these two trying to resist each other and trying to resist the pull that they clearly have towards one another, but as the story goes on, you see that that proves futile because sparks fly. And I just loved every single thing about this. I know you guys probably hear a lot of romance, you know, booktubers and people that read romance talk about book boyfriends, and they love this book boyfriend and all that. That's all null and void because Neil July is the ultimate book boyfriend, okay? He was so sweet and so compassionate and so kind and caring when it came to Olivia. Like, it truly was like I hate everybody but her, if you touch her you die. So if you like those tropes, you will definitely get those out of this book, because that was Neil to a T. And Olivia, of course, was playing this cat and mouse game. She tried to act like she didn't really like Neil. She was trying to resist him, but clearly that did not work out. So yeah, I really enjoyed Olivia's character. I loved how headstrong she was. She was very progressive, to the point where she actually even became mayor of Henry Adams, which was insane, especially during this time period, because that was just unheard of for a woman, especially a black woman, to become a mayor of a town. So I really like the fact that Beverly Jenkins goes above and beyond to paint her women characters in a positive light. It makes them so headstrong, and again, feminist in every sense of the word. So yeah, Olivia is definitely one of my favorite characters that I have read about. Like, I love all of these women characters, but like Olivia is truly like my number one, I'm pretty sure. It's a tie between Carolee and Olivia, but I really do love Olivia's character, and I love Neil's character, and I really wish that there was like a sequel or something to this book, because it was just so good, and I need to know more about Olivia and Neil, because hello, they were great. They were a power couple, and we stan. And the next book that I have in this pile is Wild Sweet Love. And so the female character in this book is actually the sister of Neil, July, and Two Shafts, and her name is Teresa. So Teresa is also an outlaw like her brothers, which I thought was very interesting, because you don't really see that, of course, in a lot of historical romances, or just like a lot of historical books in general. So it was really cool and interesting to see like a badass like female outlaw doing her thing and keeping up with her brothers. I just thought that she was really cool and she was a savage, but unfortunately the law ends up getting caught up to her, and so she, I think, can either go to jail, or she can, I think, go like be like a maid or a domestic worker for this rich family. So she decides to become a domestic worker for this rich family, and so she gets sent off to, I think, Philly actually. And so while she's working for this family, there is, I think, a son that is within this family that is around the same age as Teresa, and him and Teresa can't stand each other at first. They try to stay out of each other's way, but of course they start to feel an attraction towards each other, and then the story takes off from there. So I haven't read this one yet, but I am really excited to dive into this one, because like I mentioned before, I really did like Teresa's character, and I wanted to learn more about her when I read something like Love, but it wasn't her story, it wasn't her time, but this is her time. So I can't wait to dive into this one and see how this all plays out for her, because she is very like rough around the edges. She is very like, don't mess with me. I can't wait to see her resolve soften a little bit and see her fall in love. The next book that I have here is Jewel, and this is another favorite cover of mine. I just think that this one looks so beautiful. So this one actually involves fake dating, so I'm really excited to read this one. I think this might be the next one that I read after I read Through the Storm. So this actually follows two characters, one named Eli and one named Jewel. So Eli is actually known as like a charming like bachelor playboy type of guy, and he doesn't really want to give up his ways. He does have to find a wife, or at least portray to the public that he has a wife. So he convinces Jewel to be his wife for one night, but something happens where they realize that they're gonna have to stay together longer than one night, and as time goes on, they of course start to fall in love, and this fake dating starts to turn into something real. So again, really excited for this one. Fake dating is one of my absolute favorite tropes in romances. Like most people, I enjoy a good fake dating story, so I just know I'm gonna eat this one up, especially because Eli is known as like the playboy, and I just like love when that is like involved in the story, because you know at the end the playboy is obviously going to turn into, you know, a husband, you know, and all that stuff. So I just can't wait. I cannot wait to read this one and see how this is going to play out. So the next book that I have here is actually a part of a series, and it is the first book in the series, and it is called Destiny's Embrace. And so I think this is like literally called like the Destiny series or something along those lines. This actually follows a woman named Mariah and a man named Logan, and Mariah actually lives in Philly. I just love that Philly keeps like popping up in these books, but Mariah actually lives in Philly, but she's actually really desperate to get out of Philly. I'm assuming something happened where she just wants to get away from the city. So she decides to answer this classified ad and become a housekeeper for this family in California. So she travels all the way to California and works for this family as a housekeeper, and the family has a son named Logan. But as time goes on, Mariah and Logan start to get to know each other and sparks start to fly. So I'm assuming that this is going to be probably another like forbidden romance type of story, just because Logan and his family are very wealthy, and Mariah of course is of lower like social class. So I feel like this is going to have themes of, you know, just that whole like I'm not part of your world type of situation. His family might look at Mariah as like her not being good enough for him, etc, etc. So like all of these books, I'm really excited to dive into this one. I don't know when I'm going to get to it, especially because this is a series, and if I read a series, I really like to try to read all of the books like back to back to back, and I only have the first one in the series, so we will see how this goes, but I'm sure that this will get another 5-star. And the next book that I have here is Captured, and y'all, can we just take a minute? Can we take a minute? Can we take a minute for this cover? Like, oh, look at that, look at that. This is actually, I think, my favorite cover out of all of them. This might be my number one. Jewel and Night Song, like are great, and then there's another book in here and I will get into that a little bit later, but Captured might be in the #1 spot. So this book actually seems a little bit more intense than the other Beverly Jenkins novels that I have in this collection here, so I'm a little scared. I'm a little scared for this one. So this one follows Dominic Levesque. I'm pretty sure Dominic might be the cousin or maybe the brother to Raymond, who is in Through the Storm, which is the book that I'm reading right now. So I think he might be Raymond's cousin, but I'm not sure yet. He is the most notorious privateer ever to command the high seas. He just captured a coveted prize, a British frigate. On a dangerous mission against the crown, Dominic should be thinking only of his ship's safety, but the rebel captain is utterly entranced by Claire Sullivan, the stunning slave on board. Consumed by desire, desperate to have her, Dominic offers Claire her freedom in exchange for a forbidden night in his bed, a night he assures her will be most pleasurable indeed. Claire believes that Dominic is nothing more than a seductive rogue, used to getting what he wants, but she too feels a tantalizing passion between them, and so she submits to just one night of bliss. She'll soon realize that Dominic has captured more than her body. He's captured her heart, and she doesn't want him to ever let go. So this one seems like it's going to be really intense, like I said, because Claire is enslaved and Dominic is like using that to his advantage, which I'm not really a fan of, like, at all. So I don't know how this one is gonna go, but I do love the cover art to this, so I'm going to give it a try, but we'll see, y'all, we'll see. The next book that I have here is Before the Dawn, and another cover that is absolutely stunning. I love the purple, I love the passion that is radiating through the cover. Like, we love to see it. So this one sounds messy, child. So this is about a woman named Leah, and Leah actually finds herself in the state of Colorado. She ends up meeting this man and they end up having this like whirlwind romance, and this man does have a son and his name is Ryder, and him and Leah I don't think get along at all, and unfortunately Ryder's dad, so the man that Leah falls in love with, ends up passing away. So Leah is expecting to gain like some, you know, wealth and inheritance from this man's will, and Ryder is not happy about that. But somehow as time goes on, him and Leah, I guess, start to get to really know each other and realize that the other isn't as bad as they thought, and they end up falling in love. So this one sounds like it's gonna be mess because she was with the father and now she's with the son. So I don't know how this one's gonna go, y'all. Really excited to dive in and to see how this all plays out. We got 3 more books to go, and the next one that I have here is The Taming of Jessie Rose. So this one is about a young woman named Jessie Rose. She's actually in charge of her family's ranch. I'm not sure what happened to her family, but she is in charge of her family's ranch. And because she is a woman and a lone woman at that, taking care of this ranch, she does try to find a man that like can help her run this ranch and essentially protect her and it from, you know, people that want to take advantage of her and the ranch. And she finds this outlaw named Griffin. Griffin agrees to protect her as well as this ranch, and then sparks start to fly and the story takes off from there. I feel like if this is anything like something like Love, where Griffin is really sweet and compassionate and kind to Jessie Rose the way that Neil was to Olivia, then I'm probably going to eat this book up, because something about the outlaws and the good girls, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. It's giving Soldier by Destiny's Child, okay? And I'm here for it, okay? So yeah, I can't wait to read this one. And the second to last book that I have here is Winds of the Storm, and this one actually follows another character with the last name Levesque. So I'm sure that the Levesque characters are like a part of their own series. So I think Through the Storm might be the first book, and I think this one might be the second one, and then I think Capture might be third. I'm not sure, but either way they are all a part of the same series and the same family. But anyways, this follows a man named Archer, and Archer was actually a soldier in the Civil War, and he was actually on the brink of death until this woman named Zara ended up helping him and rescuing him and, you know, saving his life essentially. And once she saved his life, I'm assuming they went their separate ways, but he can't get Zara out of his head, and he's still wondering where she is and if he will ever see her again. And, you know, he's trying to basically find Zara. On the flip side of that, you have Zara, and Zara, like I said, saved this man's life, and she too can't stop thinking about this man, and she's wondering if they are meant to be together. And then I'm assuming that they do end up crossing paths again, and then the story takes off from there. So again, sounds like it's gonna be really cute. I feel like it's gonna have a lot of historical factoids woven throughout it, just like Through the Storm, and I can't wait to eat it up just like I'm eating up Through the Storm. The last book that I have here is Always and Forever, and this is actually another one of my favorite covers. As you guys could see, like, look at that, the hair, the stare, the smolder, the passion, like, we love to see it. So I was going to give my own like synopsis for this book, but I just feel like I'm not going to do it justice because the way that these two like encounter each other is a little bit strange. So I'm just gonna read the back of the book. But right here it says, sassy Grace Atwood never expected to find her proper self accidentally tumbling into a stranger's bed. If she weren't desperate for a man to lead a wagon train of brides to a woman-starved town out of West, she never would have gone near Jackson Blake, former lawman or not. She should send the ruggedly charming Texan packing, only he's perfect for the job. Now her mind would just stop going blank every time she looked at him. They might get this train to Kansas yet. What's a man to do when a beautiful woman leans over his bed in the middle of the night? Come to think of it, that was the only time Blake's ever seen the straight-laced Miss Atwood the least bit ruffled. He's certain that beneath her button-up appearance lies a passionate woman aching to break free. But though Blake longs to take her in his arms, all he can offer Grace is a life on the run. And when the demons from his past catch up with them, Blake is caught between the ties that bind and a love that could last always and forever. That was cute how the ending tied into the title. But this one sounds like it's gonna be a lot of mess as well, and I just really like the fact that Beverly Jenkins always incorporates like an outlaw or some guy that's just like not like considered like good in society's eyes, or he's like running from a past, he's like not ready for commitment, but then he meets the one woman that like turns that all around, and then they end up falling in love and then having this beautiful romance and get married, and it's great. I eat it up every single time. Like all of these plots, and I feel like a lot of these stories do, you know, follow the same formula, and a lot of these characters do follow the same archetype, but like I love that because that means that these can be comfort reads for me, and that means that I know what to expect each and every time. So when I'm in a reading slump, I know that I can pick up one of Beverly Jenkins' books, give it a read, and probably get out of that slump and feel great about love in the world. So that is why I love her book so much. But yeah, I cannot wait to read this one. All right, y'all, and those are all of the historical romances that I picked up recently, and I'm really excited to read all of them, as you could tell, because I kept saying it throughout the video, but like I never know what else to say when I do these hauls sometimes. But I'm definitely gonna have to do some buddy reads, I feel like, for a lot of these books, because there are just so many that I want to get through, and I always want to talk about these books with people, but I'm still trying to find like, you know, that go-to person, or like my go-to people when it comes to Beverly Jenkins books. There are a few people on Bookstagram that I talk to that do read Beverly Jenkins or have started reading her, because I recommend her books a lot on my Bookstagram, and like that makes me feel good, because yes, everyone should be reading her books because they are amazing. Again, the storytelling, phenomenal. Characters are always fleshed out. You just root for them every step of the way. You want them to be together, and you also just want them to be better people individually, but also collectively. So I just need to put more people on to Beverly Jenkins and these books, because she deserves it. And she's one of the few notable Black historical romance authors. And like I mentioned before, historical romance is just really not that diverse or inclusive in my opinion. So finding Beverly Jenkins books, I've been over the moon, and I know that Alyssa Cole also exists, so I definitely will pick up some of her books in the future. But for right now, I really just want to read all of the Beverly Jenkins books that I can. So yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me my channel out. And lastly, make sure you follow me on Bookstagram as well as Storygraph. I will leave all of that information linked down below, as well as at the end of the video, like I always do. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!